A utopia is an ecosystem that possesses highly desirable or nearly perfect qualities. The Garden of Eden, Shangri-La in The Last Horizon, or the Peach Blossom Spring in its depiction of a beautiful yet secluded community unaffected by the rest of the world. The hidden and mythical city of Shambhala was a utopia captured by Uncharted 2, tucked away among Tibet's snowy mountain range. Utopia itself is a game created in 1981 in which players were put in charge of building a literal utopian society on a pixelated, computer-generated island. Some would also say that the open-world formula of Ubisoft is another form of utopia, at least for the executives looking down on it. Since the birth of Assassin's Creed in 2007, Ubisoft has created what we have come to expect from their open-world games. It's a template that follows a breadcrumb trail of boxes, checking them off one by one to create the perfect ecosystem for an open-world game. There's something very beautiful about an open-world game with a good draw distance. The idea of being able to explore anything you can see with your eye ignites a strong feeling of excitement with us. Towers and other high-rise areas can contribute to that excitement by providing a ledge to take it all in from. For example, Super Mario Galaxy had an observatory, Majora's Mask had the clock tower in Termina, and Fallout 3 had the 10-penny tower. What Ubisoft has done is taken this architectural concept and made it into an integral gameplay feature. Unless you're willing to run around with a constant fog of war on your minimap, you're going to have to find a nearby tower, climb it, and interact with some form of arbitrary object to clear up that view. Starting with Assassin's Creed 2, fast travel stations were incorporated into those peaks, but their function has largely remained the same, even in other franchises like Far Cry and Watch Dogs. While fine and even fun at first, the need to constantly do this repetitive task has made it grow more frustrating with each new game Ubisoft puts out. Now, to be fair with the company, the past year seems to indicate that they are changing things. Primal replaced towers with simple bonfires you had to light up, while Watch Dogs 2 kind of ditched the concept altogether. Even Assassin's Creed Origins, set to come out this October, appears to be replacing the conventional tower system with interactive eagle vision. If you grew up in the 90s like I did, you know that there were two methods primarily used to extend a game's length. One was forcing players to replay the title, a la Ghosts and Goblins with difficulty, and the other was collectibles. Collectibles were particularly prominent in rare games like Donkey Kong 64. However, as I covered in my Ukulele Buyer Beware, this aspect of gaming has not aged well. Having to scramble around a large map looking for collectibles, it can be fun, but often they are built in as distractions. Some franchises like the Arkham series have modernized these collectathons by incorporating puzzle elements, but Ubisoft hasn't really done anything of the sort. The closest they have come to changing the formula was with the first Watch Dogs, wherein players had to complete a hacking-style minigame to acquire the item, but this grew really boring over time due to the similar design of all the hacks, so they ditched it. Whether it's feathers, animus fragments, letters, posters, masks, audio logs, or even clothes, you can expect every single open-world Ubisoft game to have some form of useless collectibles. Collectibles are not criminal on their own, but when they're there just to be there, it doesn't really add anything to the experience of the overall game. My main man George from Super Bunny Hop has often used the term checklist when describing recent Ubisoft titles, and that seems to fit perfectly with the side missions. You're given a diversity of tasks usually to do, but nothing unique within those categories. A lack of diversity in gameplay starts to make the missions feel the same, and while games like The Witcher have gotten around this by putting just more effort into each side mission, Ubisoft has not. It turns their games into grindathons for completionists. Now, there are Ubisoft games with side missions that do have some effort put into them. Unity had Rift missions and mysteries that were really fun to do, but when you're beating yet another assassination contract, or chasing down a fixer in Watch Dogs, or delivering a package in Far Cry 3, a sense of deja vu can shatter any sensation garnered by veteran open-world players. On the bright side, no one can deny that these games are just filled with things to do. One problem that has plagued other open-world games like Bethesda games or Zelda entries has been their inability to lay out their games with enough things worth doing. In Ubisoft games, you can't turn a corner without finding some sort of trinket to uncover or place to explore. And given how much time has been put in to build that world, it's nice to see players are given incentives to check out just about everything the developers have created. With the inclusion of the Follow Me quest arrow, however, this is never guaranteed. There's also the fact that many features are locked behind either experience or money barriers, and having the opportunities to earn those things outside the main story can allow players to invest in multiple methods towards beating missions. For example, in Revelations, acquiring the expensive crossbow earlier on opens up long-range killing, otherwise unavailable. Now, the term reused assets is thrown around a lot for games that don't spend too much time in development. Things like models, animations, sound, and weaponry can all be imitated from sequel to sequel with pretty much no cost. This is not always a bad thing depending on the execution, but with Ubisoft games, these can invite criticisms towards the lack of innovation in subsequent titles in a franchise. Far Cry 4, for instance, incorporated the same combat, the same crafting, the same menus, and just the same everything else from its predecessors, without adding or fixing the problems associated with them. And then Primal took things one step further by nearly reusing everything Far Cry 4 just reused. Such is the cost of a game that is a one-to-one template for more of your games. The bottom line is, reused assets can make a series just start to feel repetitive. When you're crafting the same things you've spent hours crafting in the previous entry, climbing the same towers you know you've climbed before, and traversing the same roads you traveled last year, it can start to wear you down. I believe if you're going to include arbitrary collectibles and rehash so many assets from prior games, you had better provide a sufficient reward for making us invest so much time into getting everything. Ubisoft really doesn't. Animus fragments in Assassin's Creed unlock in-game cheats that few people actually use. Audio logs in Watch Dogs give insights into corporate conspiracies, but they can already be deduced from the news reports that play over the radio. And the memory cards in Far Cry 3 add very little to either the game's story or its mythology. What do they all have in common? They're just there to be there, without any meaningful reward. Ubisoft plans to use this open-world Utopia more than ever in the future. In a recent financial report, Ubisoft laid out their plans for the next 2 years, to use existing franchise sequels to replace the development of new releases. The obvious yet unfortunate outcome to all of this is that we're going to receive very few new IP games from Ubisoft in the future. After all, when people keep pre-ordering their games, the data tells them to keep doing the same thing. Where's the incentive for Ubisoft to drop the franchises that work and the systems that house them? The games can be fun for sure, but have we had enough of this open-world Ubisoft system? I'd encourage fans to avoid pre-ordering AC Origins and Far Cry 5, or any Ubisoft game for that matter, as those games may be just more shadows following the Ubisoft user Utopia. What are your guys' thoughts on the Ubisoft open world formula and the Utopia I've laid out in this video? Let me know down below in the comment section, and thanks for watching guys. If you enjoyed this video, by all means hit the thumbs up button and subscribe here for more of our future content, and you guys have a super duper awesome day, and we'll see you in our next video.